All right, 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 11 through 21. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 11 through 21. I've entitled the message today, Embrace the Grind. Embrace the grind. You know what I mean by the grind? Going to that Lennox every day. You go to Fairway every day. It's a grind. Embrace the grind. There aren't any hard and fast rules for getting ahead in the world. Just hard ones. You don't have to lie awake nights to succeed. Just stay awake days. I like that one too. There is no poverty that can overtake diligence. A Japanese proverb. Spurgeon said, by perseverance the snail reached the ark. Triumph is just oomph added to try. I've heard it said that being an adult is trying to figure out what you're going to eat every day until you die. Just a grind. Every day. Do you think God is watching your everyday grind? You know, from getting up in the morning to deciding what to eat for lunch or supper. Do you think God is watching when you tie your shoes in the morning? Do you think God is watching you when you brush your teeth before you go to bed? Do you think God watches you in the car on your way to work? Every day? Do you think he watches you on your ride home from work? Every day, and how you pulled over in front of somebody or somebody pulled in front of you? You think God is watching these events? Do you think God watches you at work all 8 to 12 hours or more of that workday? Do you think there's ever a time that God is not watching you? We're in a grind. Every day. Now, we joke because, it's fun at Lennox and it's fun to grind at Lennox, I'm sure, every day. You just can't wait to punch the clock the next day, I'm sure. I feel the same way at Fairway. Just can't wait to go in at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning and pull a truck. I can tell you exactly what I'm going to do the whole day, and I haven't even started my day tomorrow. Because it's a grind. I do it every Monday. Every time. It's always the same thing. It's a grind. Does that mean it's bad? No. Does not mean it's bad. Recognize the grind. Embrace the grind. God wants you to see the grind within everyday life. It's often said that practice makes perfect. I don't know if I agree with that, because what happens if you're practicing wrong? You're going to be perfectly wrong. But if you're practicing it correctly, that's good. So the question is, are you practicing correctly? Is your grind good? Because you're going to grind. Is your grind good, or is your grind not so good? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing with the grind? Or are you not doing what you're supposed to be doing with the grind? Because there's going to be a grind. Every day you're going to do something. Embrace it. God has given you a gift every day to be here, to do something, to serve somebody, to do something somewhere along the line. You've been given a gift. That's why it's called the present, because it's a gift. What are you doing with that gift in your grind? We have the opportunity today to see the grind in the life of 3 different people as we go through 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 11 through 22. We're going to break it down in these 3 ways, these 3 opportunities. Verse 11, number 1, we see Samuel courageously serving. We see Samuel courageously serving. The second opportunity we have to see the grind in the life of everyday people, verses 12 through 17, the sons of Eli are contemptibly sinning. The sons of Eli are contemptibly sinning. And the third opportunity that we have to see the grind in everyday life, verses 18 through 21, Hannah is consistently sewing. I needed an S word there. She's making robes and stuff, so she must be sewing something. We see Hannah consistently sewing. So let's start to look at this. Let's see this grind in everyday life. Let's read verse 11. Then Elkanah, remember who's Elkanah? Bonus points if anybody remembers who Elkanah is. Samuel's dad, the husband of Hannah. Then Elkanah went to his house in Ramah, but the child is Samuel, the child ministered to the Lord before Eli the priest. How often do you suppose that this is going on? Well, at first, he's bringing him after Hannah has weaned him. And we've been learning about this for a couple of weeks now. Hannah had not been with child. Was seen as a negative thing in that culture. And you remember Hannah praying, wanting that child. And the priest Eli thought she was drunk. But she prays to herself silently, moving her lips, prays for a child, and God answers her prayers and gives her who will be Samuel. And it says that Hannah nursed the baby until he was weaned, which in those days was probably about 3 years old. And you remember that Elkanah, Peninnah, Hannah would go up to Shiloh, it's about 15 miles, would go up to Shiloh once, twice, 3 times a year for service to the Lord, to the tabernacle. That was where they were at locally. And they would do this every year consistently. And this in Shiloh was when Hannah prayed to the Lord that she might have child. And this is where Samuel comes from. One of these opportunities to go up there to pray. She gets Samuel. She's with Samuel. She delivers Samuel. He's now 3 years old. And last week we talked about Hannah's prayer and how excited she was to have had her prayer answered and how she felt loved as a result of having this prayer answered. So now what? Well, they're going to drop the boy off with Samuel, or with Eli the priest. Now Lil's going to be 3 next Sunday. I can't even imagine taking her 15 miles away. In those days, that's not a short journey. 15 miles away to the priest, Eli, and saying, well, good luck. But that's what they pledged to do. Bless his heart. Bless Hannah's heart. They followed through in their grind to do exactly what they said that they were going to do. For 3 years, they cherished that little boy and nursed him and helped him grow and to develop. For 3 years, that was their grind, knowing that one day they were going to have to turn him over to Eli the priest. They did it. They embraced their grind. They did what they had to do. And kind of over the course of years, it says the child ministered to the Lord before Eli the priest. This is something that's being continually done. I bet this is kind of a reflective sort of scenario that the author here is looking at this, that when they finally dropped Samuel off to Eli, this young man did his job. Because I'm struggling thinking, like, 3 years old. What in the world is this 3-year-old doing? It's going to make any bit of difference, you know? Probably over the course of time, he continually was ministering to the Lord, which would have been his grind. He never stopped doing what he was supposed to do. He embraced his grind to minister to the Lord and never grow old of doing what he was supposed to do. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've woken up in the course of my fairway career and said, I just don't want to go in and do this today. I'm just so done at that store. I'm so done with those people. I'm so done with this job. I'm so done with running truck. I'm so done with this and closing and inventory and whatever. You ever just get done? I'm just done. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. For 3 years, Hannah nursed that baby knowing she was going to have to give him up. For 3 years, Elkanah knew that this little boy that they've come to know and love, they're going to have to give him up. But they kept going and they kept moving forward. They embraced their grind. And they did what they knew they had to do. And the child ministered to the Lord before Eli the priest. And think about this for a second. Eli the priest. Now we haven't quite got far enough into it yet, but to let the cat out of the bag, I'm not quite so sure that Eli the priest is the person that you'd want to leave your 3-year-old boy with. As we continue to read this, we're going to notice that the sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, man, they are just not... You know, when your kids are little and they start making friends, I had a friend that my mom affectionately nicknamed Satan. You ever have your kids have friends and you just think to yourself, man, I just wish they weren't friends with Satan? Couldn't you have picked a different friend? There's 120 kids in your class. That's who you picked, huh? Young Samuel's now going to be around and be fathered by, essentially, this person whose 2 other boys are just rotten to the core. But they did it anyway. Because this is what they'd covenanted and promised to do. They embraced their grind, and they did what they knew was right to do. My challenge for you today, don't give up. Never stop growing tired of doing what is right. Even when it sucks, even when it's hard, even if you don't want to do it, man, embrace the grind. If God has given you the gift of going into Fairway every day to work there and do a job and provide for your family, get your butt up tomorrow and go and do it. I guess I'm speaking to myself on that one. But I hope you catch my drift. So Elkanah did. That's what Hannah did. And Samuel was courageous in his serving. But we're also going to see the sons of Eli are contemptibly sinning because, this is almost a tale of 2 cities. One of the things that I thought about having as an intro for this message was reading the intro to Charles Dickens' A Tale of 2 Cities. Because in one hand, we see Samuel, who we know from reading some of this on your own. Samuel is a wonderful prophet of God. I mean, this guy just is amazing. And here's his beginnings. 3 years old. The Tale of 2 Cities, however, we have Samuel on one hand. It's the best of times. Oh, mercy. And then we have the worst of times with Hophni and Phinehas, the sons of the priest, Eli, who just can't seem to get anything straight or figured out. These 2 just want to ruin everything they touch. They just don't do what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, and how they're supposed to do it. These 2 just can't stop sinning. And you just want to take them by the neck like Homer and Bart Simpson and say, knock it off. But it goes a little something like this, starting in verse 12. Now, the sons of Eli were corrupt. Boy, they're just going to come right out of the gate, aren't they? They're corrupt. They're no good. They did not know the Lord. Boy, that's an interesting phrase to put after this idea that they're corrupt. What was it about them that made them corrupt? It doesn't say because they stole money. It doesn't say because they kidnapped people, and it doesn't say any of that stuff that we might consider somebody to be corrupt for. Why does the Bible say that they are corrupt? Because they did not know the Lord. It's as a result of not knowing the Lord that they're now going to have no leash on them, no opportunity to do anything other than sin. So it's not going to surprise us. Whatever we read from now on about Hophni and Phinehas, and we're going to be dealing with them more than just these few verses, by the way. They're going to pop up a couple more times. Whenever you read something about Hophni and Phinehas, it's not going to surprise you. They're going to steal and plunder this, and they're not going to do that right. I figured. They're corrupt. They don't know the Lord. Why does it surprise us when people who don't know the Lord do dumb things? Did you expect them to glorify God in their actions? Like, what did you expect? They don't know the Lord. Of course they're going to do something ridiculous. It's when you do know the Lord and you do those ridiculous things, that's when I start to go, what? Come on, you know better. Come on. They don't know better. They should, but they don't. Because they didn't know the Lord. Which begs the question, do you know the Lord? Or are you corrupt? Like Hophni and Phinehas. The tale of two cities. Samuel, Hophni and Phinehas. I don't know, where are you at? They did not know the Lord. And the priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered a sacrifice, the priest's servant would come with a 3-pronged flesh hook in his hand while the meat was boiling. Then he would thrust it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot, and the priest would take for himself all that the flesh hook brought up. So they did in Shiloh to all the Israelites who came there. Also, before they burned the fat, the priest's servants would come and say to the man who sacrificed, "Give meat for roasting to the priest, for he will not take boiled meat from you, but raw." And if the man said to him, "They should really burn the fat first, then you may take as much as your heart desires," he would then answer him, "No, but you must give it now. If not, I will take it by force." Therefore, the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord, for the men abhorred the offering of the Lord. Now, if you've not read Leviticus, that part may not make a lot of sense. Because what he's talking about here, and the problem that Hophni and Phinehas are having, has to do with ritual practices by the priest. Eli the priest is the one who's in charge. We get that. And the priestly line is passed down through the boys. Which means Hophni and Phinehas need to be figuring out how to be priests, because one day daddy's going to die. And then it's going to be Hophni and Phinehas who are the priests. And then they're going to train their kids. And this is how it's perpetuated. This is what's supposed to happen. So what's actually happening? Well, the way that this is supposed to be done is not what's happening. Where do you even start with these two boys? You ever just get to the playground and these kids are just messing around and you just go and you're like, just get in the car. I don't even know where to start with you two. Just get in the car. That's kind of what it's like with Hophni and Phinehas. Where do we even start with how badly they're butchering this? No pun intended, by the way. They are absolutely making a mockery of everything that God wanted to have happen with the sacrifices. Yes, the people are supposed to come with their sacrifices, and yes, the priest is supposed to then carve it up and take care of it in such a way that it's the way that God wants it done. And he gave very clear, specific instructions all the way back with Moses. We're talking, this has been on the books for a while now. Long time ago. There should be no question by this point. These Israelites should have read this 1,000,000 times by this point. We should have this all figured out by now. Unless, of course, you're corrupt and you don't know the Lord and you just kind of do it however you want to do it. There's something to be said about doing things the way that God wants them done. How does God want a given thing done? I didn't ask how you wanted it done. How does God want this given thing done? Maybe it's marriage. Maybe it's church. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. I don't know. Whatever it is, how does God want it done? Not how do you want it done. How does God want it done? And God told them exactly what he wanted them to do. Hophni and Phinehas come around and they don't do that. For example, this whole thing with the flesh hook. So the breast and the right thigh were supposed to be for the priest. That's it. Now why? Why is it that God has allowed these two pieces of the animal to be preserved for the priest? Well, all the other tribes have been given stuff. Like land, for example. The half-tribe of Manasseh, remember that back in Joshua? They wanted this parcel of land because it was good for pasture and stuff. And so Moses let them have it. This means yes? Oh, yeah, I remember that. Okay, good, thank you. That's what they got. And they were able to now have pastures for their herds. And they were able to get animals and take care of themselves. The other tribes had other things and land and stuff like that. What did the Levites get? Nothing. They didn't have a way to raise animals to eat. So how do the priests eat? What do they get to eat? Well, when I come along with my offering, a bull or whatever it is, I come along and I give this offering to the Lord, and now the Eli or Hophni and Phinehas now going to take it and deal with that. How do they eat? They get to take a part of that sacrifice and take that for their family to eat it. And God says you can take the breast, the right thigh. The rest is an offering and a sacrifice to me. And before you even do that, the first thing you got to do is when you put that animal in there to sacrifice it, you got to let the fat burn first. Let's put this all together now. What did Hophni and Phinehas do? Well, they just put a flesh hook in there and they just take out whatever they want. That's mistake number one. Another mistake they make is they do it before the fat's burned off. See, they're just making a mess out of this. They even have people telling them, did you catch this? And if a man should say to him, we should really burn the fat first. Did you catch that in verse 16? There are people who aren't even priests. It'd just be like some Joe Schmo coming in there and saying, hey, Hophni, I wonder if we should burn the fat first before you just stick your flesh hook in there. How does he know? And how does Hophni not know? Isn't that backwards? This is how far gone down the path they are. They just don't care. They're just going to do whatever it is they want to do. They're corrupt. They just contemptibly sin constantly. The tale of two cities. You got Samuel, who's going to minister to the Lord and do what is right. And on the other hand, you're going to have Hophni and Phinehas, who are just going to be contemptibly sinning. And that's their grind. Every day, anytime, anybody comes in with any sacrifice, in verse 13, anytime, anyone, anywhere, any sacrifice, guess what they're going to do? They're corrupt. They don't know the Lord. Their grind is to continually and contemptibly sin. Practice does not always make perfect. If you're practicing wrong. These two sons of Eli, this is how they're doing it. And it's within this sphere, this realm, this world that Elkanah and Hannah happily march 3-year-old Samuel into this household and drop him off. How would that make you feel? I don't know if I'd have a lot of confidence. That would pretty much scare the pants right off of me. But you never grow tired of doing what is right. You stick with your grind. You do what God has told you to do. You wake up recognizing that no matter what you're doing, even if you're tying your shoes and brushing your teeth, and I'm thankful I said that in the right order, you're doing what God has asked you to do. You're not making any excuses or any deviations. Your grind honors the Lord. Because you're going to have a grind whether you know it, like it, or not. You're going to wake up and you're going to do something. What are you doing? You're going to honor God or not? Tale of two cities. You're going to be like Samuel and minister to the Lord in a way that is good, right, wholesome, healthy, honorable, respectable. Or you're going to be like Hophni and Phinehas, the sons of Eli the priest, who are contemptible, corrupt, continually sinning because they don't know the Lord and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Therefore, all of this to say in verse 17, the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord, for the men abhorred the offering of the Lord. They knew that what Hophni and Phinehas was doing was wrong. And they didn't even want to come and do sacrifices anymore. They just knew that it was just a waste of time. How demoralizing to the people. God had set this up to take care of his people, and all it was doing was demoralizing everybody. Way to go, Hophni and Phinehas. One more comparison, one more contrast is Hannah. What is Hannah doing in the meantime? Because time is going on. This one incident, sure, of Hophni and Phinehas in verses 12 through 17, sure, that's one example, one instance. You ever talk to somebody and you're like, well, give me an example of what they did bad. Well, there it is. That's the example of what they did bad. This was their life. This is how they handled people. Samuel is living through this and growing up in the midst of dealing with this Hophni and Phinehas. What's Hannah doing? Is she just sitting back idly by? Is she just covering her eyes and going, I just don't even want to know what's going on with that young man over there. I just hope everything's okay. Or is she doing something? She's doing something. Hannah's consistently sowing. Verse 18. But Samuel ministered before the Lord even as a child wearing a linen ephod. We almost a little bit kind of pick up from verse 11. I wonder if 12 through 17, this deal with Hophni and Phinehas, is just supposed to contrast, just be this contrasting narrative between Samuel and Hophni and Phinehas, because we're going to go back to Samuel ministering before the Lord even as a child, like we talked about in verse 11, where we saw Samuel courageously serving. And that's why I said it was courageously serving. Can you imagine Samuel ministering to the Lord as a child with Hophni and Phinehas right there doing that kind of stuff? How courageous would young Samuel had to have been? It is so tough and challenging for even us as adults to minister to the Lord when there are people out there who do not want you to do that. One of the things that I think of the most are like young people in school. I mean, can you imagine being 16 with the peer pressure of being 16? Hello? And you get your lunch at this public school, and you go sit down, presumably maybe by yourself. I don't know, I did most of the time. And in the midst of that cafeteria on a public school setting, you're going to bow your head and pray before you eat that meal. Courage. Courage to do what is right when everyone around you is corrupt, not knowing the Lord. What about at work? You make a pizza in the pizza oven because you're on your lunch hour at the store. And pizza comes out of the oven, you put it down, you get it cut up, and you go, did you pray yet? How easy is it to do what is right when everyone around you is doing what is wrong? How easy would it have been for Samuel to continue to do what is right, to continue to serve the Lord? He ministered to the Lord before Eli the priest. He ministered before the Lord even as a child wearing the linen ephod, when right behind him is Hophni and Phinehas doing whatever it is they're doing. And he's presumably much younger than them. The grind that Samuel went through to serve the Lord. It's easy to give up even when things are good. It's easy to give up even when things are going okay. For Samuel to continue and embrace his grind, wow, the Lord was with him, huh? Is the Lord with you? Are you doing what is right even when everybody around you is telling you no? And you're going to stand up and say, yes, I'm going to do this for the Lord? Moreover, his mother used to make him a little robe and bring it to him year by year when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. And Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and say, the Lord give you descendants from this woman for the loan that was given to the Lord. Then they would go to their own home. And the Lord visited Hannah so that she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, this child Samuel grew before the Lord. Hannah never forgot that little boy. In her everyday existence, after dropping him off at the age of 3 to Eli the priest, and they went home, her grind every day, year after year, her grind, she was going to continue to take care of that little boy the best that she could in her own way. And she would sew these little robes for him year by year when she would come up to see him at the yearly sacrifice. She never gave up either. She never forgot this little boy. She didn't just drop him off and say, good luck, have fun, I'll see you when you're 18. She sewed consistently. I don't know how long it takes to make little robes like this year by year. Maybe she made one. Maybe she made them once, one a month. I don't know what she did. But I know she did something. She would grind on these projects year by year. She was doing her part. She wasn't going to give up. She knew what he was up against. She would go to that temple. She knew who Hophni and Phinehas were. She knew what they were doing. She probably saw this thing with the flesh hook one time or two. She never gave up. She kept going. She kept doing what was right. She kept doing what the Lord wanted her to do. And Samuel grew and grew in the Lord and continued to learn and to grow because he had the blessing of 2 wonderful parents, Elkanah and Hannah, who loved him even from afar. And a blessing from the Lord came his way, and he grew. And I cannot wait as we go through 1 Samuel to see all the wonderful stuff that Samuel does. And how the Lord ministers through him and what the Lord does with him. Samuel is a wonderful prophet of God. He does some really neat stuff. And this is where it starts. On ground zero with this grind every day of doing what he's supposed to be doing. And Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife Hannah, and the Lord give you descendants from this woman. They were on such a right track that the Lord blessed them further with more children. I mean, I'm telling you, if you want a confirmation that something's going right in these days for Hannah to have 3 more sons and 2 more daughters, wow, talk about confirmation of doing everything you knew you were supposed to do, when you were supposed to do it, and how you were supposed to do it. And their grind continued. So my question for you this morning is, what is your grind? What is it that God wants you to do tomorrow morning for him in your grind? Every day you're going to wake up like this. It's not just tomorrow. I bet you it happens Tuesday too. And I'll bet you when you wake up on Wednesday, you're going to have a grind. You're going to have to get up. You have to figure out what to eat. You have to put your clothes on. Please don't walk around here naked. You have to figure out what to wear. You have to figure out what you need to do. Do you need to go to Walmart, get some supplies? You have to go to Fairway, get some groceries. What are you going to eat tonight? Do you need to go to work today? Is it a day off? Do you have a work day today? Do you have something you need to work on? I bet on Thursday when you wake up, You're going to have a grind. Every day is a grind. It's easy to want to give up. It's easy to want to throw in the towel. It's easy to say, Hophni and Phinehas are there and I just can't handle them two anymore. I just don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. No, you're not done. You're still breathing. You're not done. Keep moving forward and doing what is right for the Lord. Embrace your grind. Let's pray.